Imagine you spend 3 years building your future with someone. You move to a new town for them. You leave behind your old life. You start planning a wedding. And then, just a few weeks before the ceremony, the person you love walks away and chooses someone else. Not a stranger, not a new crush, but the best friend they always told you not to worry about. This is exactly where our story begins. A woman named Daphne sits alone in a small apartment in Michigan. The room is quiet, but her mind is anything but quiet. Every memory feels like a wound that keeps reopening. Every thought reminds her of what she lost. And worst of all, she can't escape the story that destroyed her life.
Daphne loves books. She's a librarian. Stories are her whole world. But despite loving stories, she's never been very good at telling her own. She's the type of person who gets stuck on tiny details, wondering whether something happened on a Tuesday or a Thursday, questioning every little memory. Meanwhile, her ex-fiancé Peter is the complete opposite. Peter can turn any simple event into a beautiful story. People listen when he talks. People believe him. And for years, Daphne loved hearing him tell the story of how they met. It sounded like something straight out of a romantic movie. At least, that's how Peter always told it.
3 years earlier, Daphne was walking through a park. The weather was perfect. She was wearing a floppy hat her mother had recently mailed to her. And like always, she was reading a book while walking, a habit she had promised herself she'd stop after nearly causing a bicycle accident. Then suddenly, a gust of wind lifted the hat right off her head. The hat flew through the air and landed near the feet of a handsome blonde man. That man was Peter. According to Peter, this was fate. The moment he first saw Daphne, the moment everything changed. But Daphne remembers it differently.
Because as Peter bent down to grab the hat, another gust of wind blew it away again. Daphne chased after it, ran forward, lost control, and crashed directly into a metal trash can. Hard. The hat landed on top of leftover noodles. The trash can slammed into her ribs, and she fell flat into the grass. Peter always described the moment as adorably clumsy. What he conveniently forgot to mention was the fact that Daphne was covered in garbage and screaming enough curse words to scare nearby children. When Peter asked if she was okay, her first response wasn't romantic. It wasn't cute. It wasn't charming. She looked up and asked, "Did I kill a bicyclist?"
Not exactly the perfect first impression, but somehow it worked. Over the next 3 years, Peter loved retelling that story every chance he got, to friends, to family, to strangers. It became their story, their beginning, their proof that fate had brought them together. Daphne believed that one day, Peter would probably tell the same story at their wedding. Maybe during his vows, maybe during his speech, maybe both. But then, something happened. Something that changed everything. Peter went away for his bachelor party, and after that night, their love story stopped being a love story. Suddenly, Daphne wasn't the main character anymore. She became a side note, an obstacle, a complication. The woman Peter almost married, before realizing he actually loved someone else. Petra Comer, his best friend, the woman he'd spent years insisting was only a friend. The realization shattered Daphne, because everyone already knew Peter and Petra's story.
They had known each other since childhood. They grew up together. Their families vacationed together, celebrated holidays together, spent decades creating memories together. Everyone thought they were practically family. Even Peter used to joke that Petra felt more like a cousin than a friend. And Daphne believed him.
Now she wishes she hadn't, because every warning sign suddenly makes sense. Every memory looks different. Every explanation sounds like an excuse. As Daphne sits alone in the apartment, she scrolls through Petra's social media. Photo after photo appears on the screen. Peter smiling. Petra smiling. Their family smiling. Everyone looking happy. Everyone looking perfect. As if Daphne never existed. As if her heartbreak is just a tiny footnote in somebody else's happy ending.
Then she sees a caption. The best things in life are worth waiting for. The words hit harder than any punch, because she knows exactly what they're implying. Peter and Petra weren't a sudden accident. They were a story everyone thinks was meant to happen. And Daphne was simply standing in the way. Anger rises inside her. She slams her laptop shut. She can't look anymore. She can't keep torturing herself. But unfortunately, the universe isn't finished torturing her yet. Because Daphne isn't living alone. The apartment belongs to a man named Miles. A messy, weird, constantly high man who just happens to be Petra's ex-boyfriend. Yes, the situation is exactly as awkward as it sounds. Petra left Miles. Peter left Daphne. And now the two abandoned exes are stuck sharing an apartment together. As Daphne walks toward Miles' room, sad music echoes through the hallway. The volume is so loud, the walls are practically shaking. She knocks. No answer. She knocks harder. Still nothing. Finally, the music stops. The door opens, and a cloud of weed smoke immediately floats out. Standing there is Miles, barely dressed, hair completely out of control, looking like someone who lost an argument with reality several days ago. Daphne asks if he's okay. Miles insists he's fine. Completely fine. Absolutely fine. Even though he's been listening to one of the saddest songs ever written on repeat. Then Daphne notices something. The music isn't actually music. It's coming from a movie. A romantic movie. And not just any romantic movie. Miles has been watching Bridget Jones's Diary. Even worse, he's been replaying the exact same emotional scene for almost 10 minutes. Which means he isn't really watching the movie. He's mourning. Just like Daphne. For the first time, she realizes Miles is hurting too. Petra didn't only destroy her relationship, she destroyed his as well. Both of them were left behind. Both of them were replaced. Both of them are trying to survive. For a brief moment, Daphne considers staying, watching the movie, talking, maybe becoming friends. Because nobody understands her pain better than Miles. But she's not ready. Not yet. So she returns to her room, opens her laptop, and begins searching for jobs far away from Michigan. Far away from Peter, far away from Petra, far away from every painful memory. She gives herself a deadline, 108 days. That's all she has to survive. After that, she's leaving, starting over, building a new life somewhere else. A life where none of these people matter anymore. But what Daphne doesn't know yet is that leaving Michigan won't be as easy as she thinks. Because the story she believes is over is only just beginning. And the last person she expects to change her future is the messy roommate living on the other side of the wall.
Sometimes the most painful part of heartbreak isn't being left behind. It's realizing how much of your life belonged to someone else. And when they're gone, you don't even know who you are anymore. A few weeks before everything fell apart, Daphne thought her future was finally coming together. For years, she had struggled with dating. Every relationship seemed temporary. Every connection felt fragile. Every promise felt unreliable. Then she met Peter. And for the first time in her life, someone made the future feel safe.
When Daphne tells their story, she doesn't start with the breakup. She starts with the day they met. Because that was the day she stopped feeling alone. After the hat incident in the park, Peter didn't waste time making small talk. He wanted to know everything. Not the surface level details, the real things. When Daphne mentioned her mother, Peter asked if they were close. When she mentioned her birthday, Peter asked what birthdays meant to her. Every answer led to another question. Every conversation felt deeper than the last. Most people spent dates trying to impress each other. Peter seemed genuinely interested. He listened. He remembered details. He paid attention. And that made Daphne feel seen, something she wasn't used to. When Peter talked about wanting a big family someday, Daphne felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just a handsome guy. This was someone imagining a future that sounded surprisingly similar to her own. Dating in her late 20s had been exhausting. Most men disappeared the moment conversations became serious, the moment commitment entered the picture, the moment real life showed up. But Peter wasn't running. Peter was moving toward her. Things happened fast, very fast. Within only a few weeks, they practically merged their lives together. Their schedules, their routines, their friendships. Everything became shared. And strangely, it felt natural, as if they'd always belonged together. Months passed. The relationship grew stronger. Then one day, Peter proposed, and Daphne said yes without hesitation. She didn't need time to think. She didn't need convincing, because she trusted him completely. That trust would eventually become the thing that hurt her most, but she didn't know that yet. At the time, life felt perfect. As wedding planning began, Peter brought up an idea, a big idea. He wanted to move back home, back to Michigan, back to the small lakeside town where he'd grown up, a place called Waning Bay. His software job had become remote. Nothing was keeping him in Richmond anymore. And surprisingly, Daphne wasn't against the idea. In many ways, she didn't have strong roots tying her down. Her mother had already moved away. Her father barely existed in her life. Most of her closest friends were considering moving elsewhere too. And there was another reason, a very important reason. Daphne had always dreamed of becoming a children's librarian. Not just a librarian, a children's librarian. Helping kids discover books, helping them fall in love with stories, helping them escape into magical worlds. And unbelievably, the library in Waning Bay happened to be hiring for exactly that position. It felt like fate. Or at least that's what she thought. So together, they made the decision. They would start fresh in Michigan. Buy a house, get married, build a family, build a life. Everything was moving exactly according to plan. Well, almost everything. Because technically, Daphne wasn't really helping buy the house. Peter was. He paid the down payment, he covered the mortgage, he handled most of the financial burden. And while Peter never complained,
Daphne couldn't stop feeling uncomfortable. Her mother had raised her to be independent, to rely on nobody, to stand on her own feet. Accepting so much help felt wrong, even if it came from the man she loved, even if they were about to become husband and wife. A small voice inside her kept whispering, "What if something goes wrong? What if one day you're left with nothing?" It turns out that voice was smarter than she realized.
To ease her worries, Peter suggested a compromise. He would handle the mortgage. Daphne would slowly furnish the house, piece by piece, room by room, creating a home together. And for a while, that arrangement worked. The future looked bright. The wedding was getting closer. The house was ready. Everything felt secure. Then came the bachelor party, the night that changed everything. Because 3 weeks before the wedding, Peter left for a night out with friends. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. Just one final celebration before marriage. Daphne stayed home, relaxing in their beautiful yellow Victorian house, reading a book, waiting for updates. And Peter did send updates. Cute photos, group pictures, happy smiles. Everything looked normal. Everything looked harmless. Until one particular person kept appearing in every photo. Petra. Petra wasn't just Peter's best friend. She was practically family. The beautiful childhood friend who had always been there. The woman everyone adored. The woman nobody could dislike. The woman Daphne had spent years trying not to compare herself to. And honestly, how could she compete? Petra seemed perfect, beautiful, funny, confident, warm. The kind of person who made everyone feel important. The kind of person who walked into a room and instantly became its center. Daphne genuinely liked her. That was the worst part. If Petra had been cruel, jealous, or manipulative, this would all be easier. But Petra wasn't any of those things. She was nice, painfully nice, and that's what made everything so confusing. As the bachelor party continued, Peter kept sending photos. More drinks, more laughter, more memories, more Petra. And at the time, Daphne thought nothing of it, because she trusted him completely. What she didn't know was that while she sat comfortably in the house they planned to share forever, the foundation beneath her entire life was already beginning to crack. And by the next morning, nothing would ever be the same again. Because the bachelor party wasn't the end of Peter and Petra's story. It was the beginning. And when the sun rose the next day, Daphne would receive a truth so devastating that it would destroy everything she believed about love.